Red-handed, married 4 years, we're planning a family. We've had some rough patched here and there. We've lived together for 8 years. We don't have a lot of time to ourselves. We work hard. This is something we both need. In retrospective of what happened, needed might be a better word. To work on things to keep us close and intimate regardless of work, etc. I live in one of the Asias and she's Asian. I'm white. The language barrier is not a problem. Her English is perfect and I speak the native language well enough to work entirely in that language. We speak English at home. I live in a building and in an area where there are many foreigners. A few weeks back we had a big fight. I don't know that the details of the fight are important, but within each family I'm sure there are a set of rules you have that some might call common sense. She misinformed me of her plans and never bothered to call. I'm at home with plans to have some alone time with her, trying to set things up for some romance. She decided after this blows up that she needed time to figure things out for herself. She said that she wasn't sure what kind of person she was anymore and wanted to have some alone time. She's 40 and I'm not sure if this was a midlife crisis kind of thing, but okay. She said being alone is something that she wants every once in a while, which is not a problem. I do too. A couple weeks pass and I take on far more of the house so that she can concentrate on herself. She literally has to do nothing around the house. I try to read her body language. Does she feel like talking? Does she want to just be at the PC or watch TV? I thought I was doing good. Apparently, this was making her feel as though I was trying too hard. So, I backed off. I continued doing more housework but decided to get my own work done too. Yesterday, a gentleman in the same apartment building we live in was having a housewarming party for a new roommate of his. Only in the weeks leading up to the party did I suspect my wife was in touch with him. On our way home from a mutual friend's wedding at the end of April, we took the train home together. But I forgot my wallet at the hall where it took place. The train ride was only 15 minutes, but I would have to grab a taxi since that would be the last train running that night. My wife and the guy, went home on the same train and I came home by taxi. I figured by the time I got my wallet, found a taxi and arrived home, she'd be there. She wasn't. I called and figured that being the last train was running slow. She was carrying some of my stuff, so I went down to the station to carry it. I found out, I'll skip ahead, that they had arrived home and the guy was keen to show her his bachelor pad. I told her my concern for her not showing up at home but didn't really feel a need to voice any jealousy concerns, because I wasn't. I trusted my wife even though I didn't trust him entirely. He had told her, and later she told me, that he thinks I don't like him because of some situation that I don't recall at all. So, I tell my wife that I have no hard feelings for the guy. That's changed. The weeks leading up to the party, she had sent mail back and forth with him. She wasn't informing me of this, but she was. I would find out later. After our recent blow-up and her needing time, she sent him a message saying he's going to be at your party. If he acts strange, it's because I told him I needed time. I've only told you about this, so please don't tell anyone else. Not wanting to make things strange and wanting to be normal, I went to the party and was actually having a good time. My wife showed up and she was having a good time. As the evening went on, I noticed she wasn't around. She was in another room with a bunch of girls talking girl talk. Not a problem. Again, trusting my wife, I decided to head back up to our apartment, same building, and asked her if she was going to stay. Big mistake. She was going to stay. At 12 a.m. I was upstairs getting my stuff ready for work the next day. I fell asleep. At about 2:30 a.m. I sent a quick message to my wife asking her how she was doing. No response. 4:30 a.m. rolls around and I decide to head back down. I open the front door and there is no party going on. I quickly run to the bedroom where I find her laying on top of him with their faces close. Why? What the hell? I was in shock. I never imagined my wife would do this. Even with the needing of time, she said that she wanted our marriage to work and that she wanted to have a family, but that she just needed a little bit of time for herself. She was also PMS everywhere. Sorry if that offends the ladies, but that was the word she used when she said if she happens to say something that hurts me to remember that it's that time of the month too. I was telling her to get her clothes on and the guy was apologizing. As stuff was getting said, my wife looked up at me and said, "I'm leaving you." I put my fist through the balcony sliding door window. If she wanted to divorce me, if she wanted to be with another guy, divorce me and then go ahead. Not like this though. I get her upstairs and into our room. I was in a dark place and I couldn't wrap my head around it. I kept wishing it were a dream and that I was going to wake up. The pain was so deep I took a knife and tried to cut my wrists. My wife stopped me. She was still a bit drunk, but I asked her what had happened. Her story was, we were having a deep conversation and then things happened. I asked for specific details. I wanted to know everything. She asked, "Why do you want to know that?" I explained that it was going to take a lot of explaining before anything happens next. She insisted that she had to go back down and clean up the mess she felt she made when I busted up the window. I told her there was no way. She kind of drifted off to sleep as I was talking. I am sure alcohol was a part of that. I went downstairs to confront the guy. His roommate reluctantly opened the door. I went into the guy's room and he was snoring away. I woke him up, asked his roommate for a broom and pan. started to clean it up and asked him for his side of what happened. His side: since the day we went to the wedding she's been coming on to me. She's even sent me emails I can show you. She was flirting with me at the wedding. She was tonight. My roommate can back that up. Not the most biased of people to back his story up. I saw the back and forth that I figured was going on in the emails. The words she used were basically the words she used with me. One thing about my wife is she's very friendly to everyone. If you happen to be a guy who has a girl smile at you and think, "Aw, she likes me, man," then you'll get the wrong signals from her. So, the email said nothing about divorce, but according to what he said, she had been talking in passing in the elevator and hallway that things were going well between us, that we were getting separated, and then he said she made it clear to him that she was getting a divorce from me. He also pointed out that in her email she said, "You have a lot of experience, so I have many questions to ask you." When he said he thought I was on the road to moving on and so was she, that at that point he figured she was fair game and tried to get her into bed. I walked in just as they were laying with each other. No bonding had started, a few kisses were shared and that was it. There were no covers. I saw that his member was not in her. I gave him a brief, very brief, rundown on what is happening. Told him to stay the hell away from her and that if she emails or calls to let me know. It was either that or I knock out your pearly whites. He said he understood and that if he had known he wouldn't have done anything. I don't believe that part, but with this happening, he would be burning many bridges. I told him to keep what happened to himself and his roommate. That's when he asked, "So how are you going to pay for the window?" I could have knocked him out right there, but was too concerned about what was happening upstairs. On my way up, I called my friend who is also a pastor, asked if I could stay with him. Not knowing if she wanted a divorce or not, he told me to hang in there and that I was welcome. So, I went up. I set my mind on blank. If she wants out, then put that on the table. If she wants to stay, put that on the table. Time, she's run out. So, she decided to tell her side of the story. She said, "We were having a deep conversation and he and I had finished cleaning up after all the guests left. We had cleaned it all up and talked more. I was about to leave, got my back, but he grabbed my arm and asked me to come to his room. I have no excuse for following him. He took off my clothes, but I have no excuse for letting him. There was nothing physical and I don't remember any kissing. I was on top of him and feel ashamed and sorry. I then asked if I hadn't walked in how far it would have gone. She says she can honestly say not any further. I asked her how much alcohol was involved, and knowing that there were a few people at the party taking drugs, had she done anything? She said I was drinking but not drunk. I didn't do any drugs. I knew what I was doing when he was taking off my clothes, but I have no excuse for why I let him. I asked, "Did you or do you want to be with him? Is this why you've been emailing him?" She said, "No. I can't explain and have no excuse for what happened, but that's not what I want." When I told her his side of the story, she said some of it is true, some of it was dead wrong. First, she wasn't flirting with him. This I can believe or did, but I guess I can't say for sure now, because whenever a European friend comes and goes, she gives them hugs. Knowing that that's part of the culture. The second was any talk of divorcing me. She said she had never said she was divorcing me and that she had never had any conversations like that with him. Anytime they passed in the hallway or elevator, he asked her how are things, and she would respond not so well. She said that it was about work, as her job is hard. She works in a claims department dealing with all kinds of horrible people. She said she never talked about us to him as far as divorcing or anything. She admitted to emailing him about how she needed time and that this was making me feel a bit crazy, which is why I might be acting a bit weird at the party. So then came another big question. Why him? She says the reason she wanted to talk to him is because she had overheard him talking about his experiences with love and ladies, and of a love lost she wanted to ask him about these things and to maybe get some advice since she was now in a place she felt like she didn't know herself. I asked her why she didn't talk to me. This is where I will take my share of the blame and say I wasn't always ready to listen, because there were so many times she was pessimistic when she had every reason to be optimistic. I should have listened more. I told her of all the guys you could have talked to, you chose the one single guy who, as far as I know, cares nothing about your problems but will do what he can to get you into bed. She said she believed he had answers for her, but after hearing what his side of the story was, she decided that she had made a mistake. So again, I put it all on the table. Did you ever think of divorce? She said yes. Why? I don't know, she said. Did any of the last almost 10 years mean anything to you, or did somewhere along the line you decide it wasn't worth it anymore? I told her to stop caring about my feelings and whether or not she's going to hurt me any more than she already has. If she wants a divorce, then let's get it done. I told her I had a place to stay. I told her that I would support her financially until she found a cheaper place to stay. I gave her the opportunity to leave and then to stay. If you decide to stay, you're going to have to earn my trust back, which may take a long time, and I don't know how long it will take. You're going to have to take a step forward in the relationship in a positive way. No secrets, no lies, because next time it's all over regardless of the circumstances. She broke down crying. She wants to stay and I want her to stay, but couldn't feel anything. No, with only 5 or 6 hours having passed. I told her, as hard as it was, that I forgive her. She said she couldn't understand how I could forgive her for something like this. How I could still love her. I told her I was more hurt than I've ever been, but that people are imperfect and make mistakes. If we never gave people second chances, then where would we be in this world? This was a big second chance. She said, maybe you can forgive me, but I don't think you can ever forget that image. I didn't say anything to that because right now, I keep playing it over and over in my head and it's killing me inside. I'm a biased person, believing my wife over him. I have all the emails and transactions between them and nothing except for wanting to ask him questions because of his experiences and the fact that we were having trouble came up. The rest is his word versus her word, matching up in places and not in others. My wife wished that the conversation I had was with all three of us so that she could make sure that the truth came out. Not just words to make it sound like it's all his fault or all hers. I told her that I don't care to have that conversation. You want to be with me, then that guy is off limits. She agreed, but still hopes that there will be a time when she can have that conversation to clear things up. A few more hours went by with us just lying there. Then again, she burst into tears. I think she was seeing clearly now what had just happened, and said she felt ashamed and embarrassed and asked how you could love me. I wasn't in the right place mentally to comfort her, but something told me I should at least put my arms around her. Hold her hand. Later, about 7 in the evening, we sat at the table. Now, with both our heads clear, I asked her if she wanted to clear anything up or ask me anything, because after that I didn't want anything to do with him or that situation. I wanted it to be our past. She made a few more of the statements she made earlier again. That night, she had a hard time getting to sleep, and so did I when we woke up in the morning. We talked a little about work and family. She had to get ready to go to work. I had canceled all my weekday work for the next month. Financially, not a big hit. I wanted to work on things at home and find another apartment to move into. I told her the day before that I couldn't live in the apartment anymore. I don't know if this is enough information. I did ask, was this the first time or has this happened before? She promised it was the first time and last. Thing is, right now, I feel empty and emotionless. Part of me wanted her begging me to take her back, but that's not how I laid it out. I guess it's only been a day, but every email and phone call she got, she would show me to prove he wasn't trying to get in touch with her. I'm sure the advice will be it takes time to heal, but if anyone has anything else they can throw in the pot as a way to help. I may have been selfish in saying that the first step was for her to shower. Just the image of that guy's body on her was throwing me off. But how do we move past this? I know it won't take a day or two, but what do people do in the first days, weeks or months? Will this pain of seeing my wife in such an intimate position with another man ever go away? My wife had asked me, what does marriage mean to you? And I answered, for me it's sharing. Whenever something happens, good or bad, you want to share it with someone. Not just anyone, not the important stuff anyways. If something wonderful happens, it's only wonderful after I've been able to share it with you. It's not the same as sharing it with anyone else. Why? Because I love you and my love for you is not like the love I have for anyone else, which is why her sharing that intimate moment with him was such a painful sight. So, what do I do now? Comments. Get rid of her. Things will never be the same again. I would move out for a few days. You both need time to think, especially her. Her betrayal must be followed by true contrition, no blame shifting. I would also restrict her from any bank accounts or credit cards. She needs to see what being single and broke is like. Make her work to take you back. OP responds, I may have been too easy in taking her back. I love her. She spent the day crying and ashamed. I refrained from comforting her and pretty much told her, yup, you messed up. It's what you do next that's important. There were moments when she tried to shift the topic to areas where I messed up in the past. I accepted blame for those mistakes but never gave her okay as far as those being good enough reasons to be put in that position. It was my birthday today. She did what she could to make me feel good but knew that not much would change. I wanted to put what happened behind us as soon as possible, which was a mistake. I had more questions and with every answer came a new question. In the end, I think she was looking for something she wasn't getting in the relationship we had. In a moment of weakness, she gave into the situation. She still thinks that it would have not led to sex but that was besides the issue. She makes no excuses and insists that she see a doctor to discuss her issues as she thinks she has some that need to be resolved before she can with 100% confidence move on. I'm all for it. I hope the doctor reminds her that if what she has for me is the same love I have for her, that she would start begging for more forgiveness. She still doesn't understand how I could say I forgive you so soon. I still can't grasp it myself. I guess I thought it would heal me as well. It hasn't yet, but I hope it does. She asked permission, for the first time ever that I can think of, to spend about an hour after work tomorrow at a local temple with a co-worker whom we both know. She has no plans on discussing the situation, although I've given her the okay to go ahead if she thinks it will help her. She's too embarrassed and feels very much, in her own words, like a S. I don't know if she understands the entire meaning of the word, but I wasn't about to say anything to make her feel any different. I think I'm in the anger portion of the ordeal. I really never expected this. I wonder if it would have been easier had I not walked in and heard about it later. I have moments where the image flashes in my mind and I think, well, it could have been worse. And other moments where I feel like throwing up. What makes all of this worse is the guy lives in the same building. Our apartment is great as far as price and location goes. I asked a real estate friend for some help and find a new place far enough from here where we would still be good and comfortable, but not so far that it would be a pain to go to work or get other things done. I was at one point looking at places in the countryside, far from the city and dirt cheap, thinking long term, I'm more comfortable living in the city still. I don't want to see any friends, even though nobody outside the three of us know of the situation. The 10 seconds I spent in the elevator with a friend going up to our apartments felt like a lifetime. Tomorrow I have a whole 1 hour of work and I'm dreading it. I know I won't have my heart in it, and with the work I do I need to have my heart in it. Don't know how to break it to the people in charge that I'm going through some tough times. I told my wife that this was a time to reevaluate our lives and to possibly make it stronger. Although different, she was negative in that she would say, I don't know how you can forgive me. I would never forgive me if I were in your shoes. I did think about spending time away from her, but when I married her, I took on other responsibilities that prevent me from being very far from home. Otherwise I would. The other guy, well, I've been thinking about what to say to him when I run into him. We have another mutual friend marrying Sarah and we'll both be there. My wife will not be attending for obvious reasons, although I gave her the okay so long as she was not anywhere near him. Not that I don't trust her. In fact, at this point, if something did happen, I'm at a point where I'd walk out, but I know she might cause a fuss about what he said, what she said about the whole thing. On topic, I think the only thing I can do is forgive him for trying to sleep with someone that was married, or, if his side of things are true, to have been fooled into thinking he was doing something that was okay. I can't think of any other way to get by all this. I'm 280 pounds, 6 feet and a power lifter with all the confidence it takes to handle the guy to hurt him in the worst physical way. And I can't bring myself to do it. I just hope that urge doesn't pop up at the wedding next weekend. I would not attend, but I have responsibilities there as well, and canceling last minute would ruin certain things for the couple who are clueless about what's really happening. Is it normal to have zero appetite, not want to go anywhere or do anything, not want to see or even talk to friends, and to avoid any conversation of any kind with anyone? I've been in my apartment for 4 days now. I've left just twice for a few minutes to pick up some home necessities. She knows, and I made it clear that the trust she and I had was no longer there, that aspect of our life was something she needed to earn back if she felt it was worth it. She asked me if she could attend, asked if it was a good or bad idea, and in her own words said I shouldn't go. I certainly don't deserve to go. I guess I was just in a place where I decided to leave it up to her to see if she makes the right choice. Too soon. She's been asking permission for everything else. I know she knows what she did was wrong. But then again, I made the mistake in believing this would never happen too. Besides counseling, what are some things I can do with my wife that will help us to get by this? What are things she can do? Things I can do. I hate sitting in a room and just not being able to talk, or if we do it feels empty because we both know that at the front of our heads is that pain. When I go back to asking about that moment, I know that at this point, even when I ask why, she'd be guessing because I know all the details leading up to the moment, but really can't help but wonder what would happen had I not walked in. The day after all of it happened, I thought, as silly as it may sound, that I could just put it behind me and move forward, trying to bury it rather than confront it in a way. Today was my first day back working. What a hard thing to do, trying to smile and pretend all is well. Nobody knows, and I'm not keen on sharing. I know my wife made a mistake, and I'm not going to go out of my way to make others feel like she's a bad person. Although she was in that case, I don't know that she quite understands what an emotional affair is, which is what we got into the other day. She's taking some time for herself, something I've asked her to do on her own or with a friend, to think about what's happened. I told her she could talk to a friend, in detail about everything. That way she can get some perspective on the whole situation. I think that in part she still feels that it wouldn't have led to sex, and therefore that's supposed to make me feel somewhat better. It doesn't. She has used those words exactly, but I asked her to put herself in my shoes. That's part of what she's going to do today. Imagine walking in on that and then saying, oh, but it wasn't going to go any further. She has taken the blame. Another part that has me upset as I think more about it is how she could have really thought how she says she did when it came to that moment. She was looking to him for advice based on his experiences. If that were true, at what point did it not kick in? And she's not a stupid person. That when he decided to take off her clothes, that he was more interested in that than in giving her advice. Again, she admits to having no excuse for allowing it to go as far as it did, but I wish I could get inside her head when she was in that moment. One thing, before heading down to that apartment, I had called her. Her phone was on and was ringing. She must have heard it when all this was happening, which I wonder if she ever though. Hold on a sec. Only my husband would be calling at this hour. What the hell am I doing? But that never happened. I want to ask her about it, and I wonder if I can. I almost want to hear it all over again from beginning end. Like watching a horror movie again knowing you're going to be sick to your stomach, and then asking more questions about how she felt physically and emotionally. She has been open about questions I've asked where I most certainly didn't like the answer to, and when she realizes that those are problems, or when I bring it up as a problem, we both understand it's something that needs to be worked on. If there are any females reading this, I have to ask, does a woman's cycle ever play a role in this? This month has been stressful and her emotions were running high the last week or so, and while this is certainly no excuse, I would factor that in along with alcohol as contributing factors in the moment of weakness. Today, I'm going to ask if I'm trying too hard in her eyes and make it clear that even just 4 days after all of this that I've seen little on her part, in my eyes, as asking for forgiveness, and I had a moment of weakness I would be on the phone, calling her to make sure she's okay. Taking time off work, something I'm doing right now and home alone is killing me, thinking of ways to show her that what I did was a mistake and that my heart belonged to her. She has apologized. But in a conversation we had the other night, I asked her what she thought would be one of the first steps in resolving her issues, and the first thing that popped into her head was I have to apologize to the roommate of the guy I found her with, because he was brought into this unfairly. I was stunned, thinking of that before us. I guess what I am wanting is for her to be begging me. She saw I was obviously not in the mood for anything last night, but she did little to comfort me. She sat in the room with me. I told her if she had a busy day the next day that she should get ready for bed. She said, I think you've spent a lot of time by yourself today. I can be here. Thing is, she was there physically, but I felt like she wasn't there at all. At one point we started talking about bonding. She said I have no desire for anything physical. I can have it, but it's like a chore, kind of. This again was another blow. I asked her if it was me, the way I looked, the way I smelled, the way I acted. She said it was that way for her regardless of the situation. She admitted that there were some issues that she had to resolve with a doctor to get beyond this. In my search for non-physical marriages, I stumbled upon some issues. We are both overworked. We take care of her mother who lives with us and is old and barely able to do things on her own. However, her mother is either at a daycare facility every other day or enjoying TV when at home in her room. Her breakfast, lunch, and dinner are all taken care of by me. I make sure that all the chores are done so that she doesn't need to worry. I think work stress plays a part on her cycle, and I've often suggested that she quit her job and stay at home to do something she wants, like study, something she's talked about doing before. This way she can take care of what she needs to and enjoy taking care of things she wants to. And with that being done and the stress levels going down, maybe she'll have the desire to be with me in an intimate way. Sorry for jumping around. But another topic that hit me the other night was that she was trying to gauge what I was expecting from her considering what happened. She spent some time alone at a temple, and in all honesty, I thought she might come home, throw her arms around me having fully realized what she had done, beg me again for forgiveness, and perhaps make some gesture of I love you towards me, physically or emotionally. Unfortunately, none of that happened, as far as I could see or feel. She said, I'm sorry I disappointed you again. I told her it's something you've got to feel for yourself, to see if it's worth it or not. She said I was worth the fight, but as my rambling post has hinted at, I don't see her fighting. I feel like I'm in stormy waters waiting for her to throw me a lifeline, only to see her standing on the dock with her arms crossed thinking about what her options are. She says she's trying, even if I may not be seeing it. But isn't the whole point to be able to see it and feel it? What questions should I ask? What other measures can I take to help save this marriage? I will do my best to take on the challenges and dares, but at the same time, between all that, I still have this feeling of I'm waiting. And it's killing me. All I can do now is drink. From 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. I did what I could to find out more about how to fix things. I decided to go find a specialist, to find a counselor. In this part of Asia, it's very uncommon to find these types of specialists, and those few that are around are expensive, and while I think it's worth every penny, I think she will feel we can do this on our own. Still looking for help, still feeling alone, just started drinking some wine to dull the pain. My comment, I am not sure where this story is going. Will OP detach, or would he do everything to save this marriage? We will find out in part 2 very soon.